going to accept these tough
You
children?
bet they are.
Well, if they accept these,
and those kids,
if they accept those, if they accept those children, I'll tell you what's going to happen.
Okay, you tell me, and then I'll tell you.
What's going to happen is that the parents of all the other children are going to move right out and go to another school, because ultimately you're going to have to deal with hardcore problems,
John Coons.
whether it's in a private school or whether it's in a public school.
In other words, that kid isn't tough in the school that he's in because he's stuck there. He's just a rotten, tough kid.
He may be a kid with a lot of problems, not rotten.
You can't imagine a situation where if he were given choice and allowed to go to a school that he liked and to which he would connect emotionally, that he would no longer be a troublemaker, but that he would like to stay in a place where he has chosen and would therefore do what is necessary to stay there and to learn.
You know, I don't think you've been near schools or classrooms for
Thanks
a heck of a long time.
I happen to have 5 kids who've done a lot of time in public and private schools both.
We're not talking about the problems that your children
have. Let's around the table.
I have to get to this point because I think it's a very crucial one. I don't think Mr. Schenker is saying that you should never use a doctor if you have cancer who hasn't himself had cancer.
No,
let's get rid of the idea that the only people who are competent to judge about whether a school is good or bad is a parent who at the moment has children in that school. The plain fact is that children are not born troublemakers. They do not emerge from the womb. Some of them do, of course, but most of them do not. Most of the cases of the tough kids in the schools you're talking about are tough kids because they're lousy schools, because the schools do not evoke their interest, because the school does not attack.
You're dead wrong. You're dead wrong.
Now, wait a minute. Now, I want Greg Andring on this one. Milton,
it's not often I have a chance to tell a professor he's wrong, but with all respect, Professor, the problems that you see in the urban schools of this country are not problems of the schools. They're problems of poverty. And they're problems of what do you do when, for demographic and sociological and economic reasons in a country like ours, you begin to concentrate those people who are poor in the inner and older parts of the cities of our country. That's when the problem comes. And it's not just a problem of schools. It's a problem of housing, of jobs, of medical care, of social services, and the same problems crop up. And to say that the answer to that is take one part of that element and say just set up a competitive marketplace is not dealing with the problem. The problem is the problem of poverty.
We've dealt with the problem.
I am struck with the anomaly that arises out of any of this discussion of the voucher system. The facts are that government support, call it subventions, call it direct aid, call it grants and aid, call it vouchers, call it anything, will lead ultimately to government control of the private schools, thus undercutting the alternative nature of private schooling and hurting it at its very source.
Well, then you ought to look at our initiative.
With that on the higher education level, you had the whole GI Bill. Did the GI Bill really lead fundamentally to control of all the schools? There's a fundamental difference between government giving money to an institution, to a school. That does lead to control directly. And government giving money to people to use. The food stamps don't determine what people buy with their food stamps. They may be a good or a bad program. That's not my point. My point is that don't underestimate the crucial difference between making money available to parents to spend as they choose to exercise their judgment and making money available to institutions like schools, which they spend subject to all the conflicts which they have with school teachers and others.